finally have a science vessel out in the field. It looks like he has a dropship that he used in that bottom left as well. So let's see if he decides to go in with a couple, maybe some vulture drops across the midfield. That could definitely provide some support to get back in this game. But otherwise, if he's just going to try to play, it looks like a vulture did manage to sneak out to the 12. It's a little hard to catch things because brown and purple are actually fairly close. The vulture's kind of moving out where they can here and there. Probably just ran straight by those cans. But otherwise taken out very quickly. Siege Tank's now taking up a position here at the 6, but G5 has so many bases, he is such a bank to work with. I don't think he's all that concerned. Really, I think he can let KawaiiRice actually take the 6 o'clock, just let him spread himself thin, and then push against him ultimately towards the late game. It looks like 2 more mines planted at the top position. G5 might even be waiting for this last carrier before he decides to make his move, or maybe even waiting for the carrier upgrades. Looks like he's got armor coming up alongside. I thought I saw okay, that's right. It's on there's weapons 2. I assume weapons 2 working its way. I can actually get a better look with the Arbiter because I got to wait for the interceptors to come out to check the weapons upgrade on the interceptors, which I don't think we're going to see them attack for a bit of time. But now finally this command center is starting to move the 6 o'clock position, and it looks like G5 also has the complete observer spread, and it's just kind of hanging out and waiting, sending in a couple attacks here and there. Again, not too terribly concerned. Does get a stasis off a couple troops here, but this isn't a large enough attack force to really be, I don't think, warranting a threat. Between the comsat and the latent detection, not going to get a lot accomplished. Another Arbiter running in, though. Looks like it gets EMP'd before it's able to cast a stasis. So these Dragoons not long for life. But again, I think G5 just trying to open up more supply so he can build, more carriers, which easily able to do. It looks like he's already got that armor upgrade. Still along the way. Just going to wait for the full upgrades there. And then KawaiiRice is just going to be so locked with so many tanks, just so many tanks, so many Goliaths, so many Vultures, that once G5 moves out, KawaiiRice isn't going to be able to deal with it, period. Looks like sending out some more Vultures to quickly get killed out in the field. Very nice defensive postures here on G5's part. I have to assume KawaiiRice has spotted that and knows that's coming. Looks like he managed to take out that command center to the 6 o'clock location. He's also taking the natural there, and he's got some gas mining. His main completely mined out. His secondary actually still running because he was actually pretty light on SCV saturation the entire game. But G5 basically owns the rest of the map. He can take that up right-hand corner basically at leisure, although he's going to have to build a dropship to do it. And you can just compare the pure resources here. G5 banking over 10k, can't really fill a supply with, or fill anything else with that money. I guess he could upgrade some random stuff if he really felt like it. And it looks like KawaiiRice on the opposite side, still not quite at max supply. Looks like he has the 2 weapons, but otherwise about 2,500. So as far as the resupply count, G5, as long as he has a ton of gateways down, which and a lot of Stargates, which he obviously has, he can just continue to resupply, where KawaiiRice will eventually starve out. And it looks like finally seeing these carriers get in the mix, they're going to group up with some Arbiters, and it looks like it's going to be a large attack from the north. And let's see if KawaiiRice does this. Some Vultures actually able to skirt through. There's some cannons there to deal with them very rapidly. It looks like one able to skirt through, not able to do some damage otherwise. And unfortunately for KawaiiRice, not seeing that attack force, luckily, but now seeing the attack force. Those carriers moving down, maybe he can get an EMP, but this is going to be the entirety of his Goliath force. And I don't think G5 actually even needs to bother with attacking the tanks. I think he can just wander right in, take out the turrets as he goes, take out the factories as he goes, maybe even take out the Goliaths as he goes, ignore everything else. In fact, specifically, make a point of ignoring everything else, and just go for the supply lines of KawaiiRice, so he can't basically turn around and produce anything. And this is going to be a good amount of carriers to do it, able to pick off a lot of the science vessels. That'll open up the Arbiters underneath should the Arbiters decide to make a move in. And you can see how quickly these Goliaths are just getting decimated, even with decent upgrades here. Shield right there, but just not happening, just getting completely worked very, very quickly. Some tanks, and now it's just going to be all Goliath production. You can see just the Goliaths being spammed by KawaiiRice desperately, but he's just not going to be able to produce them rapidly enough. And even if he was, you've got these Arbiters from behind that are going to be able to move in with some troops, and there's a pretty wide lane now open for G5, and G5 can just camp right above here. The Goliaths aren't really going to be able to get a good position on it, and he can just move in. It looks like the tank's going to be, looks like the tank's actually the focus now, just going to completely empty KawaiiRice's army from the north. The Arbiters starting to move in, starting to clear all of this front door, cut off the bases from the rest of the troop count. Going to lose all of his Zealots, but a pretty good stasis on the retreat here. Going to lose one of the Arbiters, might even lose his second Arbiter, which is a pretty big mistake. but at the very least he can turn around and just take out that those factories on the wedge, and that's a pretty fat stasis right there. Had a lot of siege tanks with that. Actually, they're just going to break down and take out this mineral only, it looks like, and take out the rest, all those siege tanks that are grouped up. And KawaiiRice's supply, as you can see, is plummeted basically a little bit comparably, but still staying somewhat even, because G5, I think, is just kind of, I hate to say it, but he's kind of toying with them here at this stage, just kind of leisurely moving through, taking out whatever he feels like. Unfortunately for G5, he might be getting a little bit too overconfident, because what he is going to let KawaiiRice do, should he decide to do it, is produce a large Goliath force. And as long as he can preserve some siege tanks, he'll be able to kind of make up for it. He did manage to sneak, it looks like, some vultures out to the 12 o'clock, and he's going to be able to empty that 12 o'clock location, but unfortunately for him, it's not going to hurt G5 all that much, because he has 15k in the bank. So swing back around, going to take out a lot of these siege tanks very, very easily. Looks like some Dragoons going to move up, make sure these Goliaths can't provide any sort of air support. Okay, there is a siege tank at least somewhere in range. I was looking for the siege tanks in range on that cliffside edge. But now a significant enough Goliath force to maybe produce some defense, but these Stargates still spinning for G5. It looks like he's going to fulfill all of his remaining supply with carriers from this stage on, and clearing mines in the meantime. Starting to press down to the 6, where Kawhi has basically across this bottom ridge is all of KawaiiRice's mining expansions. So G5 going to go after the mining expansions rather than going after the factories, which will take a little bit longer, but perhaps a little bit of a safer route. Just you don't have to press it. You can rely on Dragoons to intercept any sort of attack forces that might be coming across. And KawaiiRice not going to be able to send reinforcements as a result. Take out both bases, all the SCVs. And you'll be sitting pretty from this stage on in control of, looks like 4 mining bases. The bottom right, just barely, but he still has that base in that upper right corner. It looks like that mineral only almost out as well. And a huge backup economy, just in case you were worried about any sort of reset. Really, he could start a small country with this economy right now and work with it very, very comfortably. Leaving that command center to burn down, it looks like. Still, looks like KawaiiRice did manage to get some factories built in the back corner, desperately trying to get some turrets up, because he knows he'll just end up getting starved out over the long term otherwise. And now, yeah, it looks like KawaiiRice was able to regenerate a decent-sized army, but economically, I think he's just dominated. Supply-wise, dominated as well. Pretty sizable upgrades, no arbiters at the very least, so that's something. But between the Dragoon carrier combination, if they decide to press against that, KawaiiRice isn't really going to be able to do anything with it, and that little observer is going to see everything and basically be able to depict basically how this is going to be run from this stage on. The carrier Dragoon combination, very powerful, and a lot of siege tanks to back this up, so it could be a little bit of a microfight, and G5 should be a little bit careful with this. Otherwise, he could theoretically end up losing his army, but I think he can, again, replenish it fairly quickly. Moving the Dragoons up, he's going to empty the Goliaths fairly quickly. Going to lose a lot of the Dragoons, though, but able to pick off a couple siege tanks here and there. So let's see if he reconsiders and tries to engage at a different point. Instead, it looks like what he's going to do is he's going to attack forward, try to tempt some of these Dragoons, tempt some of these Goliaths back. Not being successful in doing so. The Dragoons actually pulling off and deciding to just attack move to the 6 o'clock location. Looks like it's mostly turrets, a single siege tank. Sorry, 2 siege tanks to defend. So actually a pretty wise decision in that regard, and allow this carrier Dragoon force to the north to defend otherwise. KawaiiRice in no position to attack, so this should be a fairly successful strategy. SCV's coming off the line, trying to linebacker this, but I think this might be it for KawaiiRice. I think once he realizes that he can't really hold the 6 o'clock, which is his last mining base, he's basically out of this. Siege tanks being concentrated down, but still putting up a pretty good fight here. A lot of Dragoons dying per capita here. I mean, those 2 siege tanks getting pretty significant amount of kills here, 6, and I'm not sure what that Dragoon's doing. He's just running back and forth, kind of flipping out. Finally dying there to an SCV. That was a pretty embarrassing death. Yeah, it looks like the rest of these factories going to get cleared out along with the SCVs. That command center not very long for life. And the bottom left-hand corner is going to be opened up and probably next. So now KawaiiRice is going to do that last-second desperation attack and just try to move around the map and pray for elimination. At this stage, he will be able to take out this upper left-hand base, but he's going to end up losing a lot of troops, especially on this transition point of when he's going into view and out of view. And it looks like he's got pretty decent separation between his Goliaths and his tanks, unfortunately, which is allowing those Dragoons to pick them off, and those carriers to pick them off, actually, kind of in that steeple area. And now it looks like he had Goliath outnumbered by carriers. Always a bad situation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Nevertheless, long match. Thanks for listening.